Not quite sure what the delay is, but we should be getting everything sorted soon.
Okie dokie. I think I'll put my camera on. There I am. Here's my
Nice.
face.
Hello?
Okay, so this is one of the speakers. It's Edgar, right?
Yes, Edgar Chikera, founder of SiteCheck, and I'm with ACES as well. So yeah, just kind of representing them and also talking about the journey within esports and all of that. So there's what, 3 more to follow, I think.
Yep, should be getting 3
Yeah.
more in.
Okay.
Yeah. I haven't had any emails off the others, so not too sure what's going on.
Might not be updated yet.
Yeah.
Is there any more students turning up as well? Is this everyone in their glory?
There may be more. There are. I know that there's a Rainbow Six tournament going on as well at the same time, so
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah.
We did try to bring as many people in as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good thing that this has happened in the first place, right? Because how many people get to talk to those within the esport industry to find out a bit more about how to get in there?
Exactly, yeah.
Sure.
Basically, I thought this would be a great idea, especially coming from the ESI Summer Digital. I don't know if you know about that one. Yeah. So after attending that, I thought that this was something great, but like before attending that, I didn't know that things like this could be done for unis and especially for students. So bringing speakers in could really help. It'd be a lot of fun.
Good. I guess I feel like whilst people are here as well, and also whilst I'm here, I mean, if there's any questions as well anyone wants to ask about, maybe esports psychology or anything else of the matter, I feel like maybe just a good use of anyone else's time. If they have any questions, then fire away, or if you want to ask me anything as of yet.
I don't have any questions yet. I'm going to try and like save them until everyone's in. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to type them out or. Okay. No. This is kind of a general esports talk and how esports can relate to students. So like, if you have any questions relating to do with anything esports and the students, just feel free to ask it. I mean, this is like a really great opportunity to ask people in industry questions that you might have. Yeah, it doesn't have to be if you're just thinking about a career in esports, or if you want to be a player or anything. Like, there's a lot more that goes into esports than playing, in terms of like production, management. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah. So unless there are questions, I also think it might be good. So I think just for the sake of just because I'm the only one here so far, I'll probably just introduce myself, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm an esports psychology coach. So I focus on the mental side of performance to do with esports athletes. So I've worked with Fnatic, XL, Man City, AS Roma, and Hashtag United. So in titles of like FIFA, League of Legends, I've done Dota as well, and done Fortnite too. So working on like different esports and just finding out, what is the right mentality, right, to actually perform. And there's not a lot of people that I know of that actually focus a lot on the psychology. Like people can like generally or broadly say, oh yeah, the mental is so important. Because everyone knows about, when you're playing, you get tilted and you're just raging, you want to like throw your controller or your keypad or your mouse against the wall, right? And I cater to actually helping them, understand themselves more, understand these are what emotions are, this is how to control them, this is how to set basic goals, mental skills to help get basically to be the best performer that you can be. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. And then under ACES, we have advisory board, so different people from the industry so whether it be in, let's say, marketing, or like I'm doing in sports psychology, or if it's to do with like job creations as well, everyone is there to help universities and help colleges actually create a course that's helps the students actually build skills that will help you be employable. But personally, for me, as I was a uni student, what did annoy me is that you can learn all these theories, you can learn all this research, but what matters most is after you get your degree, how can I actually work within the field? So that's what we're trying to do best as well. Like get everyone else's experiences, help guide the research and guide education, actually help people be employable within esports.
Yeah, that's a really great introduction. Thank you for that. Just for those people that don't know, ACES it stands for the Association for Continued Education in Esports. So it's more on that kind of background. But yeah, feel free to ask any questions while we wait for the other speakers to join. Moth is asking, so you're saying that my psychology degree can help me get a job in esports? Well, there's definitely a lot of scope for that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have thought it either. Like when I started, I didn't even know that there was scope within it. And then, so what I personally did, I went around just emailing all organizations, whether they're lower tier to the highest ones there, and there was just such interest in psychology, and you're not really told it. I don't think there's any esports psychology courses. I know Chichester has a esports psychology module, so I did like a guest lecture on there, and I mentioned about what nerves are and also what different stresses there are as well. So yeah, like basically there's a route. If you take psychology, then you can also have an avenue to go to esports, but then that link or that transition, it's not easy to do, and it's just a case as well as like getting that experience of getting used to practicing as well, the esports athletes, and knowing what to do and knowing how to actually apply your practice in that way too. So yeah, there's scope within esports and psychology.
Thank you.
I think what might have happened is I might have only responded to your email, Edgar, so I don't know if the others actually have the Discord link. So that's
Yeah.
that's a blunder on my part. Apologies, guys. Let's just get the other guys in here.
Yeah,
We do have quite
alright.
a few questions from other people. And Graham, for example, is asking how many hours a week on average do players put into the whole esports scene?
Ooh, that's a very tough one. It's some go from 5 till 10. I think some research was saying on average, I think it was like 7.4 hours like a day on it. But obviously, don't quote me on that because I mean I don't have the research in front of me. But yeah, it's near enough the same amount of time that someone in a traditional job role would take just doing a lot of esport practice. Also, what matters most as well now that people are finding in research is that there's quantity of practice and there's quality of practice. So just because you're obviously training like let's say 9 or 10 hours a day doesn't mean it's great practice. Right? It's a matter of okay, this is really good quality practice, and you can get maybe 6 or 7 hours good quality practice as opposed to just doing 9 hours of like mediocre kind of practice in that way.
That's understandable. And then we do have a question from Hyde that kind of relates. From the perspective of a casual part-time competitive player, what are some practices we can do to prevent issues like burnout?
Oh, that's a good one. So within burnout and I guess with general motivation, it's another case of just scheduling. Let's say certain times you're practicing and knowing what do you prioritize. So let's say if you want to obviously train and you want to go to scrimmages and all of that, knowing okay, this is how much time I'm going to dedicate to it, but also knowing that you are also human, which means that you need to do other things. So whether it's be obviously develop a hobby, it could be something physical. So a lot of the gamers I've worked with as well have other hobbies. So they could be football players, some play darts, some just play other games as well. And having that time to kind of separate yourself from always training, really intense training, to doing something that you just really enjoy can help overcompensate that. Another really important one to do, or important technique to do, is to reflect a lot. Self-awareness is probably one of the biggest things when it comes to psychology. And what helps build self-awareness is actually being able to reflect. So knowing, okay, this is how I feel, these are the symptoms of burnout. And actually being able to identify the symptoms of burnout will help you prevent it. Because this means I'm leading to a dark road. So now I need to implement something that will help me out, whether it's like taking a bit of a break for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, then so be it. So those are just a couple of things that can help you with burnout.
Okay, so Richard has just joined the server, or Rich, sorry. He's the rep from Hitmarker. should be getting the others in here soon. Again, apologies for the speakers joining late. I think I only replied to Edgar's email.
It's okay. I'm here though. This is the important thing. Say hello to everyone.
Hello. Yes, and we do have a quite serious question on how do you convince your Asian parents to let you play competitive professionally?
Yeah. That is a very difficult question to answer.
But
I can't even lie.
I guess I could say
There's so
that.
much that comes with that. Yeah. Go on.
Coming from an Asian background, a lot of parents, like in general, not just in the Asian community, are very kind of fixed on the kind of jobs that they want you to get because it's safer. Well, it's safer to go down routes like that. And esports is very much a growing industry right now. So getting a job in a team, whether it's playing or in another role, it's kind of being a new industry, and also the fact that like they don't know much about it means that it's unexplored territory, and that's always scary to go into. So
Yeah.
in terms of convincing your Asian parents or any parents, you need to show that there's viability in it, that like it's not just going to be something that you do for 2 years and then end up like quitting out, or like they just don't want you to end up homeless and unsuccessful basically. So a good thing to do is to always have a backup, because parents will always respect like you going for something if you have something to fall back on, so that, you know, at the end of the day they're concerned about your safety. So yeah, that's a little bit on that. But yeah, anyway, let's get back into things. So we have all the speakers in, which is great. It's completely my fault because I only responded to one email, but thanks for joining us today. We have reps from NUEL, who is Josh. We have Rich from Hitmarker, and of course we have Edgar from ACES. So yeah, let's get things started. So a starter is, could you all tell us a bit about yourselves and your respective organizations so that we can get a feel for who you are and kind of what you're doing here?
I'll lead off. I was going to say we'll go in order, but I don't know what everyone else's order looks like. So it's nice to see everybody on a Saturday afternoon. I'm Rich from Hitmarker. So we are effectively a jobs board, but we are just focused on the esports and video game market. We've been running for about 3.5 years now. We started out originally as just esports, but we soon learned that there were lots and lots of people who wanted esports jobs and not enough esports jobs available. So we decided to branch out into the wider video game market, and now we have, this week, we're hoping to reach 10,000 active job opportunities on the website. So it's grown quite significantly in the last year or so.
Amazing. Josh, can you tell us a bit about yourself and NUEL?
Hi, absolutely, yeah. Sorry I'm late, guys, but yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. So I'm the founder and managing director of the NUEL. I think some of you might be aware of us, but we run different types of activities for university students in the UK primarily around esports. So obviously the most well-known thing I imagine everybody knows us for is our tournaments. Hopefully some of you playing those. So we run the sort of nationwide inter-university tournaments. But something that we've been sort of focusing on an increasing amount over the last couple of years is looking at how can we help students sort of develop their career opportunities and help with their sort of future career prospects as well. So, we provide a lot of various different experiences directly with working at the NUEL. We're also working with people like Rich and Hitmarker with some exciting sort of content and opportunities that we're looking at developing this year. And also just looking at how can we empower students to be able to gain experience and build communities, build events themselves, so that you can sort of develop these career career experience and skills, which will hopefully stand you in good stead for when you graduate.
Okay, great. And Edgar, you've already told a few of us, but if you could repeat a bit of the information that you gave earlier about who you are and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Edgar Takera, so I work as an esports psychology coach, and I'm also representing ACES. So ACES' goal is to obviously join research and also education, so work with continuing education programs, whether it be like higher education, so university or colleges, and really helping people actually become employable as well. So we're part of the advisory board. Well, me, Rich is part of it as well. And so what we do is we want to help education systems actually make people employable, because it's all good having a degree, but you want to be able to actually get a job within the industry. So then that's what where we come in. We kind of give our advice and our experience within the industry and how we got in there, and maybe certain challenges or certain requirements we feel like other people in different roles need, and then help that basically guide universities to content that they need in their course.
Okay, great. Thank you all for being here today. Since we're a bit late, I'm going to start with a big question, and hopefully that can lead us into some other ones. But I guess I'll start with, what can students do to grow support themselves in the industry, as well as grow the industry itself in the UK? So what do you think that we can do as students to help you guys in the esports industry? I guess we'll start in reverse order this time. So Edgar?
First. So the first thing that kind of popped up in my head, and what I did as well as a student, was just help try to create content around what you want to work in. So me specifically with psychology, what I did, I create like certain blogs, infographics, articles or podcasts, and then also helping the people in the industry be like, okay, is this something that helps you? So they have content right on that. So I'm kind of getting experience of knowing how to mold my field into what's required within the industry as well. And I think just as students, obviously the obvious answer is being proactive by just emailing people saying, okay, are you offering any work experience, apprenticeships, internships, or even going to Richard and looking on his site, seeing if they've advertised anything about, like student apprenticeships or any other opportunities like that. So obviously, in a nutshell, just being really proactive in what you're doing.
Okay, thanks. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I think to build on that, I think it's so important, like Agnes said, like to sort of just build this experience up, right? And like I say, I think unfortunately right now we're in a very tricky situation. Like, there's not as many events around and opportunities like that. I mean, there's an increasing amount of remote work because of Hitmarker, like you'll see that. So I think trying to get into those opportunities and sort of starting out in various sort of like either volunteer roles, entry level roles, right? I know how sort of keen everybody is to sort of want to go and run a team or big LEC team or like go work at a big major event or whatever. But unfortunately, it just takes a little bit of time, to sort of build yourself up there. I've been doing my job at the NUEL for 10 years now, like, and for the vast majority of that, we didn't get paid, or we were sort of doing it out of love for a lot of it. And I'm not saying it takes 10 years to get to where you want to be by any stretch of the imagination. I'm sure you're all smarter than me, and like the industry is in a much different place than it was back then. But like Agnes said, you need to find. I mean, if you find something that you're interested in the space, and you're willing to put the hours into, as I say, volunteering. And just helping out where you can, you'll eventually work your way up there. And yeah, that might be having to create your own content or put you on your own event, or that might be like just finding opportunities just to help out with things, even if it's just in a very sort of one-off or in a very casual sort of basis. So it sort of builds over time, and you sort of, let's say, build your experience up, and you sort to get your name out there. So I would just advise just being patient, not be afraid to sort of get stuck in with things, and it's not sort of like a like in a lot of career paths, you'd have a sort of like a nice grad scheme maybe to sort of enter into. I mean, unfortunately, that's not really, I think, where esports is right now. So let's say it's just a lot of like, let's say, practice and experience that you need to find, and wherever you can find that, I think you should really take those opportunities up.
Definitely good points. So I think I'll start by saying that anybody who is here at 2:30 on a Saturday afternoon watching us talk about esports is probably off to a good start. I know very, very few students when I was at university who would have given up time on a Saturday to come to a talk like this. So I feel like we're speaking to a good audience already, which is great, which means that people are probably have got at least a good part of the proactivity that Edgar mentioned down. Ultimately, that's what's going to separate you from the crowd in UK esports at the moment. As I alluded to in my little intro, it's very, very competitive to get into this industry at any kind of significant level. As you'll see from the three of us here, we are all business owners, which gives you an idea that we all had to start our own thing to kind of get somewhere. So there's a lot of startup culture in esports. There's a lot of entrepreneurship. So you need to lean on any skills that you have. So as a student, and I don't know what the range, I don't know whether you're all freshers and first years or whether we've got some second year and third year in here, but my time at university, going back a little ways, like 10 years now, unfortunately, I think first year, I think everyone kind of accepts that that's when you get the enjoyment side of being at university kind of out the way. If you're serious about getting a good degree, doing some extracurricular work and getting involved in some of the societies and things, I think first year, yeah, go have fun, make friends, meet the people that you're going to spend the next 2-3 years with. But second year for me was when I really focused down and thought, right, can I find some part-time work? Initially, that was related to the degree that I was studying. So back at the time, there were no esports degrees 10 years ago, but I was also a big sports fan as well as being a gamer. So I was able to do like a very revolutionary at the time sports coaching and performance course, which was only in its second year of running. So kind of similar to where the esports degrees of today are. So we were like guinea pigs, like a lot of guys and girls on these courses today are on the esports side. But it was great because it meant that professional clubs in the sports industry and professional institutions finally had somewhere where they could go to look for interns, which they'd never had before. So we got internship opportunities being a student. And I'll never forget the first ever lecture when you kind of all gathering together for the very first time in the big auditorium and getting the introduction from the course leader. They were like, we will have 100%, we'll have like internship opportunities in year 2. How many people would be interested in taking part and being an intern, stay after the lecture? Literally one person stayed after the lecture, and that was me. Probably because I was a little bit older at the time, and I realized that that was probably an opportunity I couldn't pass up. I wasn't just 18 going in fresh. So the great thing was when year 2 rolled around, the course leader remembered, came to me with an opportunity at Scunthorpe United, which isn't a million miles away from Josh is from. And I was able to work with their first team for 2 years. And that was all from just thinking a little bit ahead, kind of thinking, yeah, I wouldn't really want to intern first year necessarily, but if there's going to be something available next year that's going to be really relevant to what I'm studying, it's going to look very, very good on a resume or on a CV, then I'll definitely be up for it. I did that unpaid outside of university for the final 2 years I was at university. And I think that is a big reason why I was able to start the career that I had in traditional sports, which then ultimately led me to be able to transition over to esports and bring a lot of that knowledge that I'd learned in a separate industry across. So I think if you're able to take advantage of any of the opportunities that Josh and Edgar both mentioned, if you see any kind of internship, any kind of apprenticeship, they do exist, they are rare, they are hard. Sometimes you'll have to make your own opportunity. Like Edgar said, you'll have to approach people and say, look, I'm interested in esports events. I'm really interested in esports social media. I'm interested in design or video editing or something like that. Can I do something for your brand or for your company? A lot of times that will be enough to impress somebody, especially in the UK esports scene, who thinks like, I might have somebody here with big, high potential for the future. They'll typically at least give you the time of day to prove yourself and to show them something that you can do. And if you're able to get that relationship up and running, it's kind of like James when we met at a networking event recently at Esports. I think there were 4 students at that event who took the time to contact me and kind of speak to me about what I do and why it's interesting and how could I help them and their university societies. So he was very proactive. He recognized an opportunity, but made the opportunity for himself by approaching me and explaining that he had this event coming up that he would like people to be a part of. So that is a very good first-hand example of how you can make a good impression. And it's like being here with James on this call. It's obviously a good first impression from him, and to see everybody else here as well. That goes a long way. Getting your name out there and meeting people while at university is definitely a big, big thing.
Yeah, thank you for that very, very humbling answer. No, I guess that branches perfectly into another one of my questions, which is how can like students best take advantage of your organizations? And a vein off of that is like, how can someone also stand out in the esports industry? So I guess we'll start with Josh for that one.
Sure. I think just to sort of pick up on that last point that Rich just made, I think, I think all of us are, more than happy for people just to come in and have a chat about, our experiences in esports and how we can potentially help. But I think actually coming to us with something and saying, hey, this is what, I'm interested in, so how I'm thinking about approaching it, or I've got this interesting, sort of idea that I want to explore. I think goes a long way, because we get, I'm sure we all get lots of messages, people just going, hey, I'm looking to get involved in esports, and it's like, okay, great, but like, how can, what do you want to do? Like, how can I actually help? And if you can bring things to people that, sort of gives them a little bit of a steer and just helps them think, helps the people that you want to help you a little bit, then, it sort of, it just helps them think, be able to sort of like provide some practical advice, right? And, be able to sort of offer you things. I think like, so specifically about, I guess, some of the things that the NUEL offers. So, carry on praising James, like you casted for us, right? CSGO. So like, again, we're very big at trying to give, students opportunities, our broadcast teams of students, our admin team, product managers, etc. They're all student roles, every year, every term, sorry, or semester, should I say. We put out applications. They're all on Hitmarker right now, if you want to go check them out. And, we're very much looking just to give people some early opportunities within the industry like that. We also have, other programs. So in previous years, we've done things like Realms, where we supply societies with event kits. Obviously, unfortunately, that's probably not going to happen this time, for this term at least, anyway, because of COVID. But there's other sort of programs that we've done, and we're looking at as a bit of a heads up, looking at sort of like revamping in terms of like, if you're a content creator, like we're looking at programs to how can we support you, like working with people like Twitch, for example. And even just sort of like little things as well, like just creating and managing a team within our tournaments is just a little bit, something that's a little bit different from what everybody else is doing, right? Like if you're having to manage people and convince them to turn up on time, or running practice, or whatever it is, like that's just more than just what the vast majority of people are doing, which is either just watching people playing Twitch, or playing themselves, right? So I think just any little sort of opportunity that you can get, you should really try and take on it and build from it. And I think also, just like I said, reaching out to us, and like if there are see any sort of these opportunities that we provide, so trying to take advantage of them, but also, if you've got questions, or you've got ideas, or whatever, or what, for example, from our broadcast point of view, we have a community of students that are interested in sort of broadcast related opportunities. We have a Discord server just dedicated to that. And what's really nice about that is just seeing how students are helping each other out as well. Somebody's got a little bit more experience, or some of the guys that have been students that are now professional casters, for example, or are working in production in various capacities, right? Can just sort of share advice and help each other out. And that's just get some really invaluable experience for people who not so long ago was in your position. And they also can sort of like lead you on to other opportunities as well. So I think just trying to get involved in the community as well, that that we've been building, and sort of connecting students together, from your within your society, but also from across the UK as well, can be incredibly valuable ways to sort of, let's say, find opportunities and learn about or gain experience that's going to help you with future opportunities.
Thank you, Edgar.
A lot of good points were said there, Josh, as well. So I'm trying to think of what hasn't been mentioned, but definitely, obviously, what helps you stand out from other people is obviously the experience. But I think a really practical thing to do is to actually develop a portfolio. So in my form, it was just a website where I highlighted the different experiences that I've had and who I've worked with, and like once again, the articles, the blogs, and the podcasts. So you actually show that you have knowledge in the area, because sometimes you can't actually have the practical experience because maybe it's just not there yet. So what's also good to do is to maybe have some form of like physical product, whether that be maybe like a case study, right, that you just make of maybe some CSGO player that you've seen, and then you just want to give an example of how you use your knowledge to understand it. Or it could be how an event is run, and then you're kind of bullet point, okay, this is what I'll do in this event as well, right? So you're still developing a skill without the actual practice. But then if you go to an organization now saying, okay, I haven't had the opportunity to actually practice, but I've spent the time at least trying to understand in a bit more depth, and these are like maybe some points that I've taken away, and those points could be something that they haven't even thought of before in that way. And so it's going back again to what Josh said about, you're giving them something where they can see there's value in it. Because as harsh as it sounds, I think if you approach organizations with something that everyone else is doing and that they can do themselves, they'll be like, okay, but that's not adding more value to what we want. You kind of see it as, okay, this is something new or maybe something novel. I've spun something in a innovative way where you can actually have value for it. Kind of like just selling yourself a little bit as well can really help you in there. And I think what's really important that maybe people don't highlight is just be really likable. Not saying that you're singing their praises all the time, but just be like a likable character. Like have conversations, actually ask them about them as a person, or ask about their journey as well, and say how that relates to yours. Show that you have certain similarities. So that's about me kind of going into like psychology behind a lot of things, but actually being able to build that relationship as well is really important. And then you start building a relationship. Then they know you a bit better. Then maybe they ask you more questions. Then you can elaborate on what you want to do, and then you can also feel more comfortable as well talking to people. Because I know if you're speaking to somebody for the first time, it can be like a bit nervous, or you forget certain things, or the way you deliver things isn't as best. But when you're also comfortable in that setting, then it helps you once again sell yourself, helps you feel more comfortable, helps you deliver, and so on. So hopefully I haven't rambled in anything unrelated, but yeah, that's kind of like my take anyway of what can help.
Yeah, and to pick up directly from that, it's kind of that doesn't need to be in-person conversations. We on the Hitmarker Twitter account, like I don't really get to manage it anymore now that we've got a team of content creators, but they have like very regular people that they engage with regularly who are like actively interested in different parts. They could be based in America, they don't necessarily have to be here, but who are actively engaging with the account, even if we're just saying like good morning, and they're constantly replying and talking about their own personal job hunt and their own personal situation. That's building a relationship in the way that Edgar described. And we get quite attached to some of our users in that way because we know their very personal circumstances. Oftentimes they'll come to us and ask for CV or cover letter help, which is something that I can mention as we're talking about how can people like engage with our companies. We love helping people whenever we can. We've helped hundreds of people at this point, and quite a few people who've now gone on to very, very senior jobs in the industry, who a few years ago we helped with CVs and cover letters, and they got that dream job that they applied for, and now they are running the Chicago Huntsmen in the CDL, for instance, and there's a few other good examples as well. So it's kind of like the engagement side is huge. The relationship side is so underplayed. And to talk more about our service as well, we are just like an old-fashioned jobs board. Hopefully none of you are too overly familiar with jobs boards at this stage in your life, but it's very, very much the same old thing. Like it's a list of jobs from everywhere around the world, and all of the onus is on you to find the things that are relevant to you and that you can apply for based on your experience, based on your location, based on what skills you have. And it's not a very fun thing to do, but you can short circuit a lot of that process if you begin building relationships, as Edgar said. That could be relationships with brands, because every brand has people behind them. Like I'm sure Josh has a few people running the NUEL social media account, and I'm sure they would love more engagement from positive people who are kind of interested in what they're doing. Same for us. If people are even commenting on jobs that they find interesting or saying like, I would love to do this in 2 or 3 years, you're instantly putting yourself on a brand's radar. And like I said, those people tend to have teams, if not individuals, running those sites. It's a very good way to make connections. Then if you want to go the step further, you might find that person or that company on LinkedIn, send a connection request to some of their employees, just saying like, hi, it's so-and-so, I've been engaging on social media, I really love what you guys are doing. Would you mind connecting on LinkedIn or adding on Discord so we can talk more, or sending a DM? If you take the time to do it in that kind of subtle, slow way, instead of like diving in head first, which I think can intimidate and put off some people sometimes, it takes a little bit more work, but you probably end up with more valuable relationships in the long term. And over time, you'll realize, like, is this company really a company that I would seriously like to be involved in and engage with long term? And can they help me? Because you spent time to like learn their brand and learn what they talk about and learn the people behind the brand. But I think that's a really good way. The UK scene is super, super small still. It's really not that difficult to meet a lot of relevant people. You've met 3 here today straight away. We would have had 4, but unfortunately we couldn't get anybody from the British Esports Association at the last moment. But you meet us and we can then refer you to other people, and you very quickly will have a very broad network in the esports industry at a very young age. And then it becomes all about exactly what Josh and Edgar both said. It's building the relationship, and then the next level, like the level up from that, is can I add value to you and your organization in any way? The more they know about you, the more they'll realize what you can bring to the table. And it might not even need you to go through a formal job process or an application. It might just be like, oh, just sorry, James, to use you as an example again, but we know James, he's casted a few games. I'm in desperate need of a caster this weekend. Who are you going to call first? Out of like the hundreds of people that you might be able to call, it might be one of you guys who's took the time to make an impression. So definitely that. In terms of the final plug for the service, it's like Hitmarker is totally free to use for everyone. The idea of the platform is that we go and find all of the jobs in esports and put them in one place to save you having to go through 100 Thieves career page, to save you having to go on Indeed and LinkedIn and ZipRecruiter and all those other fun places where you have to sign up for 10 accounts and you get spammed by emails and stuff. We pull all the jobs into one place so you can come find them on our website and hopefully apply to some. But again, if anybody needs any help, our entire team is trained and enjoys helping people get into esports. So that's kind of what we're here for, and that's what we do.
Yeah, that old adage is always true. It's who you know, not what you know. So